From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Nwawodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, justifies declaration of emergency in Rivers State, says President Bola Tinubu acted to save a bad situation. At the National Assembly, while the House of Representatives recorded a rowdy session over the emergency declaration, the Senate stepped down discussions on the matter till Thursday. Nigerians from all walks of life react to the Rivers State emergency rule, including 2 presidential candidates in the 2023 elections. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says that lasting peace is possible this year after what he and Mr. Donald Trump described as a positive phone call.
On business, Dangote Refinery holds petrol sales in Naira over crude supply delays.
On sports news tonight, Super Eagles are battle ready for the crunch tie against Rwanda as they seek their first win in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers.
From the nation's capital, federal government assures inmates of speedy dispensation of justice as part of measures to decongest the nation's custodial centers.
We begin tonight with reactions still trailing the recent development in Rivers State. This time, it's coming from the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, who has justified the state of emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu and the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the House of Assembly in Rivers State for 6 months. Speaking with State House correspondents, the minister says the suspension of the elected officials was necessary as they were party to the crisis affecting the state. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has sworn in retired Vice Admiral Ibok Etta Ibas as the administrator of Rivers State. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, accompanied by media aides to President Bola Tinubu, appeared before State House correspondents a day after the President declared a state of emergency in Rivers State.
It's my pleasure to...
The briefing focuses on the situation in Rivers State as the Minister justifies the action of the President.
The decision of Mr. President is anchored on the decision of the court, Supreme Court at that. The second one is the inability of those involved, both the House of Assembly and the governor, from being able to, create an enabling environment for the people of Rivers to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Then the third in the series is about the security situation in that place.
Addressing correspondents, the minister said the suspension of the elected officials was necessary while explaining the need to protect the nation's economic lifeline.
There were what I would call telegraphing of the militants, I would say by the governor, and the reason I said so was when he beckoned to them that, he would let them know when it was time to act to the militants. Let us say it was wrong. Did he come out to disown them? The answer is no. And a week after they swung into action, you see or witness vandalization of oil pipelines.
I, Vice Admiral retired Ibok Etta Ibas, do solemnly swear.
Meanwhile, the newly appointed Rivers State Administrator was sworn in during a brief ceremony in the State House.
And that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of Nigeria. So help me God. Amen.
The President chaired the ceremony in the company of the Chief of Staff to the President and the Minister of Justice. Speaking afterwards, the administrator states his priority.
First of all, I think we know the circumstances that led to where we are here. And Mr. President made it very clear in his broadcast. And if the main issue is that of maintaining law and order in the state, I think for any meaningful activities to take place in Rivers State, that is the utmost task that I have, to work together with all other stakeholders to ensure that we bring peace, order, and security and stability to the people and government of Rivers State and Nigeria at large.
The former Chief of Naval Staff has his task cut out for him as he prepares to assume office immediately in Rivers State. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the Senate has deferred voting on the state of emergency declaration in Rivers State, pushing the debate to Thursday, March the 20th, 2025. The decision followed a motion moved by Senate leader Senator Opeyemi Bamidele and seconded by the Senate Minority Leader Senator Abba Moro. The Senate abruptly adjourned its session, postponing proceedings until Thursday without addressing its earlier plan to consider the motion. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
Senators convened for plenary session hours after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State. The Rivers political crisis tops the agenda on the order paper. At the start of plenary, several senators were absent. The Senate's leader moves a motion on the situation, but it was promptly put on hold.
As the first order of the day be stood down to enable us consider the second order of the day, and I make the motion. I move the motion pursuant to Order 1B of our rules.
Motion has been moved and seconded that the first order of the day should be stepped down to 3 p.m. to enable us to consider other issues. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
At some minutes before 3 p.m., the scheduled time for the debate of the motion, the Senate's leader steps down the remaining items on the order paper to the next legislative date, making no reference to the motion.
With their committee meetings and attend to various stakeholders who have been invited to appear before their various committees, and that other item be stepped down for another legislative day. Mr. President, I so move.
Speculations immediately became rife that the delay was owing to the inadequate number of lawmakers in attendance. What numbers were you looking at?
Leaders don't sign register. If we take 16 leaders plus 62, we are 4 quorum. It's just that the wisdom of the Senate President to say, why don't we put it in first thing tomorrow morning? It's in the legitimacy of his decision to ensure that everybody is aware and there's a participatory democracy. So if you postpone this thing to tomorrow, more people will come into the chamber.
According to the Constitution, the Senate is required to secure a 2/3 majority to validate President Tinubu's declaration, and this approval must be obtained within 2 days of the announcement. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
Well, a similar step was taken today at the House of Representatives, which adjourned plenary till Thursday, March the 20th, without debating the emergency declaration in Rivers State. According to Section 305, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution, the National Assembly is required to consider such declaration within 48 hours of its pronouncement. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Kumi also reports that the House resolved to investigate the conditional cash transfer program of the federal government.
Less than 24 hours after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State for an initial period of 6 months, lawmakers in the Green Chamber are seen conversing in small units as they resume for Wednesday's plenary. A heated exchange then ensues between two female lawmakers on the Rivers issue, Blessing Amadi from Rivers State and Marie Ebikake from Bayelsa State. All the lawmakers intervene and calm is restored as the Deputy Speaker arrives to preside over the day's session. One of the motions for consideration is the need to investigate the conditional cash transfer program of the federal government.
Nominees for the program were involved that they will be paid the sum of 50,000 naira each for 3 months. The payment was to be made directly to the nominee bank account nationwide and was aimed at cushioning the effect of the economic hardship of the nominee, who are mostly poor and vulnerable. Worried that months after the detail of these nominees has been filed and sent, nothing has been heard from the National Cash Transfer Office as regard payment to this nominee of this program.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Meanwhile, a bill for an act to domesticate the Domestic Workers' Bill of Rights in Nigeria, establishing minimum employment standards, ensuring the protection and welfare of domestic workers, scales second reading.
The clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
It's day one of the 2 days provided for in the Constitution for the National Assembly to either approve or disapprove the state of emergency declared by the President. The matter did not come up on the floor of the House today. All eyes now turn to Thursday, the final plenary session of the week, to see if the matter will be tabled before Parliament. From the National Assembly, Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The leaders in Rivers State are responsible for the political situation in the state as they have refused to look out for the welfare of the people and what works for them. Well, that's the assertion made today by the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Afa Musigwe, at a news conference organized by the association ahead of its section on legal practice annual conference. According to the president, facts available do not justify a declaration of a state of emergency in the state, as Section 305, which the president hinged his decision upon, was not met fully.
I don't believe that the facts as are publicly available are such as to justify the declaration of a state of emergency. And so we believe that the provisions of Section 305 that should be made under Section C, D, E, and F, I think, have not been met. And we also do not believe that assuming without considering that the facts and circumstances on ground in Rivers State create such reasonable apprehension that there will be breakdown of law and orders to warrant or justify a declaration of a state of emergency. We also of the view that by the clear provisions of Section 11, particularly Section 11.4, that such a declaration does not justify the president purporting to have the power to suspend a duly elected governor of a state and the deputy governor and suspend the House of Assembly. The president does not have such powers, respectfully. If you look at Section 11.1 and 11.2 of the 1999 Constitution, they clearly make it clear that while the National Assembly can, during such periods of emergency, make laws for a state or part of the federation where there has been a declaration of emergency, that the House of Assembly can continue to make laws with respect to certain essential services.
And one of the early reactions to President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State is from the political class. Two former presidential candidates in the 2023 election weighed in on the subject. Former Vice President and PDP presidential candidate in 2023, Atiku Abubakar, says the declaration reeks of political manipulation and outright bad faith. According to a statement posted on his X handle, the former vice president says anyone paying attention to the unfolding crisis knows that President Tinubu has been a vested partisan actor in the Rivers crisis. The statement reads in part, punishing the people of Rivers State just to serve the political gamesmanship between the governor and the president's enablers in the federal government is nothing less than an assault on democracy, which must be condemned in the strongest terms. In his own reaction, also on his X handle, the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, described the declaration as undemocratic. According to him, the unilateral decision of President Bola Tinubu to remove Governor Siminala Ifubara of Rivers State from office is not only unconstitutional, but reckless. And there is more. Former presidential candidate Professor Patu Tomi, in his own reaction, is calling on residents of Rivers State to resist the state of emergency declared by the president. The statement via his X handle, Professor Tomi says, the people have a duty and a right to resist anybody who they did not vote for stepping into the government house and running their affairs. Such dictator takeover will be either banditry or a coup d'etat on the Rivers people. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, also described as illegal the dissolution of elected democratic structures in Nigeria. In a statement made available to the media, the senior lawyer said, while recognizing that Section 305 of the Constitution empowers the President to take extraordinary measures to restore law and order if there is an actual breakdown of public order and public safety in the Federation, the extraordinary measures which may be adopted by the President to restore peace and security do not include the suspension of an elected governor, an elected deputy governor, and the dissolution of other democratic structures. He therefore called on the President to follow the path of constitutionalism without any delay and proceed to reinstate the suspended governor, his deputy, and restore all democratic structures in Rivers State. In part two, after the break, one day after the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers, residents go about their daily activities without any disruption. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, justifies declaration of emergency in Rivers State, says President Bola Tinubu acted to save a bad situation. At the National Assembly, while the House of Representatives recorded a rowdy session over the emergency declaration, the Senate stepped down discussions on the matter till Thursday. Nigerians from all walks of life react to Rivers' emergency rule, including 2 presidential candidates in the 2023 elections. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says lasting peace is possible this year after what he and Mr. Donald Trump described as a positive phone call. Day 2 of the state of emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu in Rivers State saw life in Port Harcourt, the state capital, continuing as usual, with residents going about their daily activities without any unusual disruptions. Our correspondent Deborah Balama, who went round the city to observe the situation, reports that schools, markets, banks, and other businesses operated normally with no visible military presence. However, the police remained active normally within the city. She also spoke with residents to gauge their reactions.
A day after the declaration of state of emergency, which saw the suspension of the state governor, his deputy, and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, one would expect to see an increased military presence. Surprisingly, however, the streets remain calm, with routine activities and the usual presence of the Nigerian police. Opinion is, however, divided among legal practitioners on the legality of the president's action.
305 of the 1999 Constitution as modified, and I looked at that section. I did not see where the president derived the power to suspend or remove a democratically elected governor, or even members of the House of Assembly. He doesn't have such power to remove any of them. He doesn't have that power.
Majority of people will agree that the crisis in Rivers State calls for a lot of concern. None of the parties intend to yield grounds to the other, leading to likely breakdown of law and order. And you saw the Supreme Court pronouncement and all other things like that. I think the president has no alternative than to declare a state of emergency.
it is the prerogative of the president. It is also a presidential action that is not justiciable. In other words, the judiciary cannot intervene. They cannot say the president acted ultra vires or not. No.
An interesting sight we came across was a gathering of women, a group called Rivers Women Unite for SIM. The women include the former managing director of NDDC, Ibim Semenitari, and the Rivers State Labour Party chairman, Hilda Dokobo. They say they have assembled to pray for the suspended governor Fubara's victory.
But Rivers State has been peaceful. I mean, just next door in Imo, soldiers were killed. Government didn't declare a state of emergency. In Anambra, entire communities were sacked. Government didn't declare a state of emergency. Up north, that has been the order of the day. In Lagos, there was a political fracas, and Mr. President, as the father that he is, called parties and settled it. So there was no way any Rivers man or woman would expect that this is where we would end up. They should prove it to us. They should just show us where it is and we'll go to court. I took the 27th to court as chairman of Labour Party. They're still in court with me. We will go to court. As compromised or whatever, let's go to court so that the world can see how corrupt the system is.
Away from the prayer ground, we visit markets and streets to understand how residents perceive the unfolding political situation.
I didn't see anything that could warrant such statement, but the deed has been done, and I like the response of the governor. Look at the state; it's very peaceful up till now. If there was violence before, nobody would be here. Look at me, I'm selling.
It's been an intrigue of reaction pouring in since the declaration of state of emergency and the suspension of the governor, his deputy, as well as the legislators of the River State House of Assembly. While some believe that the president acted for the best interest of River State, some differ from this thought. Residents of River State differ from this thought line, as my discussions with them today reveal that they do feel that River State has been peaceful under the suspended governor. From Port Harcourt, the River State capital, Deborah Abalaba, Channels Television News.
The news at 10 continues now as we head over to Abuja studios where Millicent Walker is standing by. Hello, Millicent.
Hi, Anne. Many thanks. Well, away from the developments in River State, as part of efforts to decongest the nation's custodial centres, the federal government is assuring inmates in the nation's correctional centres of speedy dispensation of justice. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, who disclosed this in Abuja, says the prolonged detention of inmates without trial or legal representation is alarming. He received the report of the Working Group on the legal status of inmates in correctional centres, restating the federal government's resolve to improve access to justice for persons who come in conflict with the law. Well, still on the administration of justice, the Nasarawa State government has closed its case in the trial of Oluwatimileyin Daniels Ajayi, the suspected murderer of a National Youth Service Corps member, after presenting 5 witnesses and 19 exhibits to the State High Court in Lafia, the state capital. Mr. Ajayi is standing trial for alleged culpable homicide punishable by death. The accused opened his defense at the resumed sitting and he's expected to testify before the court. Well, we head to Kaduna State, where the United States has reiterated its commitment to continue to support the state government to improve the security situation in Kaduna, as well as improve access to healthcare and education. The United States ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Richard Mills, gave the assurance when he visited Governor Obasani at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House. On his part, Governor Obasani commended the United States for its sustained partnership with the state, especially in areas of tackling the menace of out-of-school children.
The ambassador of the United States to Nigeria, Mr. Richard Mills, arrives at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House in Kaduna State. The courtesy visit is considered a significant development to strengthen bilateral ties between the United States and Nigeria, with a focus on key areas such as security, healthcare, mineral resources, education, trade, and investment.
Kaduna State, I don't need to tell all of you, holds a very strategic place in Nigeria's landscape. I know not only for its rich culture, its history, but also for its potential to lead in addressing some of Nigeria's most serious issues. Our conversation today, I hope, will reflect the fact we have a shared commitment to building a future where every Nigerian citizen can thrive in safety, security, and opportunity.
The visit affords Governor Ubasani the opportunity to highlight some of his administration's efforts to improve security, increase access to education, healthcare, and enhance the socio-economic well-being of the people. He calls for stronger partnership with the United States in addressing emerging and contemporary challenges.
As part of its development strategy, Kaduna State is implementing a data-driven approach to governance with a strong focus on improving the lives of its people, particularly in rural areas. From an analysis of development indicators, Kaduna State has identified key deficit areas where targeted intervention are required. Accordingly, the state welcomes direct partnership or support through development organization in the following areas. Number 1, education and gender equality. Expanding access to quality education for girls and women, particularly in rural areas. Number 2, providing and supporting the provision of opportunities for skill-based training programs to enhance female participation in STEM fields and entrepreneurship.
The U.S. ambassador was decorated in traditional attire by Governor Sani as a show of the hospitable heritage of Kaduna State.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Dangote refinery halts sale of petrol in Naira over crude supply delays. That's all business news. Do join us again. You're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja studios. The Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, Creditcorp, has distributed 20 locally assembled vehicles to civil servants. According to the managing director of Creditcorp, the aim is to ensure access to structured vehicle financing for Nigerians.
The Nigeria Consumer Credit Corporation is taking steps to finance car ownership in the country. The initiative is part of President Bola Tinubu's directive to expand consumer credit access to Nigerians, especially the low-income earners. The program aims to enhance access to structured vehicle financing, empowering citizens while promoting local manufacturing.
Consumer credits for vehicles means that not just those who can afford brand new vehicles and we can buy from local manufacturing, but for the other people as well, who are buying used vehicles, pre-owned vehicles from dealers like this, they also need credit. To buy the car for 5 million, to buy the car for 8 million naira, to buy the car for 3 million naira. And they are also hardworking Nigerians who need access to credit to do that. So we are expanding our mobility funding to cover the multiplicity of Nigerians and the multiplicity of their needs.
According to Creditcorp, Nigeria imports 11,000 cars annually, and last year, the corporation unveiled a 20 billion naira consumer credit fund to enable Nigerians to purchase locally assembled vehicles. Auto dealers are delighted with the effort to change Nigeria's auto industry.
Customer walks in here, is able to now get an auto loan to get into their new vehicle. From there, they are able to get to their jobs. Students can now get to school. Nurses, doctors can get to their hospitals. So the reality is this event actually signifies a significant milestone for moving Nigeria forward.
One after the other, the beneficiaries are symbolically handed their vehicles. 20 civil servants are benefiting from this phase of the program.
Like it's a dream, but they forget that dreams come to reality, yeah? So I dreamt about it, and it came to reality, and I explored AutoCheck, Creditcorp, and this is it, the reality. And trust me, it is a reality.
I was unsure of the process when I started, but now it's very good. Because I know there are a lot of people out there like me that will want to do this, so they should give it a try. It's worth it.
The management of Creditcorp is promising that the federal government remains committed to offering timely financial relief to Nigerians.
And that's it from here. Anne, it's back to you.
Thank you, Millicent. The Aliko Dangote Foundation has delivered 80,000 10-kilogram bags of rice to the Lagos State government to support the vulnerable groups during the holy month of Ramadan and the Lenten season. Speaking at the flag-off ceremony of the 2025 National Food Intervention Program in Alausa, Ikeja, the chairman of Aliko Dangote Foundation, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, represented by his daughter, Maria, says the annual rice distribution is to cater for the less privileged during the fasting period, which is also in line with the core values of the Aliko Dangote Foundation.
These 2 trucks of 10 kg rice from the Aliko Dangote Foundation signals the flag-off of the 2025 National Food Intervention Program and distribution of rice to vulnerable persons in Lagos State. The rice distribution, which is holding simultaneously across the 36 states, is part of the Aliko Dangote Foundation's corporate social responsibility to reduce hunger.
This campaign is not only a response to the immediate needs of our communities, but also a step towards ensuring sustainable access to essential food supplies by reaching every local government area. We aim to touch the lives in every corner of Nigeria, making a tangible difference in the daily lives of our fellow Nigerians.
The State Ministry of Agriculture and Food Systems, which oversees the distribution process, alongside the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, commends the foundation for its consistent support.
We appreciate the fact that a distribution of 80,000 bags of 10-kilo rice will be distributed to Lagosians in the next few days from today. So we just want to say thank you to Aliko Dangote Foundation for adding on to all that the state government does and ensuring that one way or the other we keep Lagosians happy.
I want to thank you for counting Lagos State worthy of this largesse. May your days be long, and we will continue to see more of this by His grace.
Because of the fear of Allah, we want to ensure and assure you that we're going to do the needful so that it gets to the needy and the most vulnerable in the community.
Meanwhile, the Lagos State Deputy Governor, Kadri Hamzat, encourages other partners to emulate the initiative.
Everybody in our country must come together. We see what the Dangote Foundation is doing. We encourage others to do it. As you know, Lagos State government does a lot of programs to make sure that we assist our citizens, and we appreciate this help from private sector, various foundations coming together to assist.
1 million Nigerians are expected to benefit from the food intervention.
The idea this year is to support Nigerians in all 774 LGAs by distributing 1 million bags of 10 kg rice across the country. So we started in Kano last week, we're in Lagos today, and God willing, before the end of the Ramadan and Lent period, we would have distributed all 1 million bags across the country.
The Aliko Dangote Foundation is collaborating with representatives of all 774 local government areas to ensure smooth distribution of the rice.
Let's now join Will Ebong to take us through the stories in the world of business.
Thank you, Anne. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has temporarily halted the sale of petroleum products in Naira due to delays in the Naira for crude oil swap with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The refinery said it has faced a mismatch as its crude oil purchases are priced in US dollars while sales have been in Naira. In a statement, Dangote Refinery clarified that its Naira sales have exceeded the Naira-denominated crude it has received. Now look at the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, confirming that the Port Harcourt Refinery Company remains operational despite a minor incident earlier today. In a statement, NNPC Limited assures the public that all sections of the recently rehabilitated plant are functioning smoothly and there is no cause for concern. Down to the stock market now, it records 3 days of losses. Investors continue to take profits. Lai Williams has the details.
Well, it's day 3 and profit-taking continues at the local bourse this week with another drop following yesterday's drop, 0.44% this time. And we see the all-share index 104,000 level. On the monthly time frame, the all-share index is still in overbought territory, going by the relative strength index, but getting oversold on the one-day time frame may be an entry position for the short term. We see market cap 65 trillion. The sectors we track now, another big drop for the banking counter. Investors are still waiting for the full year earnings reports for the banks. And while we wait for that, we're seeing profit taking 1.36% drop there for that counter. Then we see the tier 1 banks. It's all bleeding out right now with UBA 3.10% down. The biggest drop we have, that's for Access Score, 3.45%. So definitely it's 3 days of losses this week. Fingers crossed for the remaining 2 days.
Thank you, Laddie. We do hope we get a rebound tomorrow and get a green close. Now let's get a sense of how other global markets performed today. And that's it on business. It's back to Andrew, the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. Still to come on the news at 10, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says that lasting peace is possible this year after what he and Mr. Donald Trump described as a positive phone call. That's on a foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's join Simon Puse with more international news in around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Russia and Ukraine have launched air attacks that damaged each other's energy infrastructure hours after Vladimir Putin said Russia would stop targeting Ukraine energy sites. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia's targets included hospitals. He said the Russian leader had in effect rejected a comprehensive ceasefire in his call on Tuesday with US President Donald Trump. Mr. Putin told Trump a full ceasefire would only work if Ukraine's allies stopped giving military assistance, a condition Ukraine's European allies have previously rejected.
You have a lot of guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know. They have encircled about 2,500 soldiers.
At least 13 people have reportedly been killed in airstrikes across Gaza after Israel said it was resuming combat operations in the Palestinian territory. 2 civilians were killed and 5 others injured when an Israeli drone hit a tent near the Al-Mawazi humanitarian zone. Israel's army said it had targeted what it called a Hamas military site from where the group was preparing to fire into Israel. Vessels controlled by Hamas were also hit, the army said. It comes after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said fighting would resume in full force, adding this is just the beginning. The mayor of Istanbul has been detained as part of a Turkish corruption investigation just days before he was due to be selected as a presidential candidate. Ekrem İmamoğlu from the secular Republican People's Party is seen as one of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's strongest political rivals. Prosecutors say he is accused of being a criminal organization leader suspect. Authorities detained 100 suspects, including other politicians, journalists and businessmen, as part of the investigation, and the Istanbul governor's office has imposed 4 days of restrictions in the city. The Democratic Republic of Congo's president, Felix Tshisekedi, and his Rwandan counterpart, Paul Kagame, have called for an immediate ceasefire in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo after having direct talks in Qatar. It is the first time two leaders have met since Rwandan-backed M23 rebels stepped up an offensive in the region, where authorities say 7,000 people have been killed since January. It is unclear whether the M23 would heed the ceasefire call after the rebels refused to attend peace talks in Angola on Tuesday. Democratic Republic of Congo accuses Rwanda of arming the M23 and sending troops to support the rebels in the conflict. Despite assertions from both the UN and US, Rwanda has denied supporting the M23. The Malaysian cabinet has approved a fresh search for the wreckage of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 more than a decade after the aircraft vanished. The search will cover a 15,000 square metre area in the southern Indian Ocean. The company will receive $70 million if the wreckage is found. Flight MH370 disappeared in 2014 with 239 people on board while travelling from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Its disappearance is one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries, which continues to haunt the families of the passengers.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
And SpaceX Freedom, splashdown. Good main release.
Copy, splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
And after 9 months in space, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams have finally returned back to Earth.
Callouts there indicating that the crew will have the opportunity to do a quick check-in with the SpaceX flight surgeon.
Their SpaceX capsule made a fast and fiery re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere before 4 parachutes opened to take them to a gentle splashdown off the coast of Florida. A pod of dolphins circled the craft.
There we do see Crew 9, some happy waves, smiles all around back on Earth.
After a recovery ship lifted it out of the water, the astronauts beamed and waved as they were helped out of the hatch along with fellow crew members astronaut Nick Hague and cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. It brings to an end a mission that was supposed to last just 8 days.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Super Eagles head coach Eric Schell now has the full complement of all 23 invited players in camp ahead of Friday's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda. The game at the Mahoro Stadium in Kigali signals the resumption of the qualification campaign as the Super Eagles of Nigeria aiming for their first win in Group C against the East Africans.
Eric Schell begins his stint as Super Eagles coach as the African qualification series of the 2026 FIFA World Cup resumes. The Super Eagles visit Kigali to face Amavubi of Rwanda to continue their quest for revival in the campaign. The Super Eagles languish one place off the bottom of Group C with 3 points after 4 games, while Rwanda top with 7 points. This makes the battle at the Amahoro Stadium in Kigali on Friday a dicey one for Schell and his players, but expectations are high.
The new mentality now is not because of the coach, it's because they want to be at the World Cup. And it's scary to them if they don't get to the World Cup with their talent. It will be a waste of generation. So I think they will have spoken to themselves. The likes of Aino, Osime, they are world-class players, and they want to be among the best.
Our expectation is to win, but we all know how football is. Those guys are not pushover. It requires a lot of hard work. So our expectation is to win. Our expectation is to qualify for the World Cup. But then we wait till after 90 minutes.
100% performance. They should put in their best. They should put in their best, like put in everything they have to do to win the game. They don't have a choice to draw. They have to win. they don't have the choice. They have to win the game. Their performance, their ability to play, their agility, their response. You get their response to the game. It matters a lot.
A win for the Super Eagles on Friday could ignite belief in the team after an unimpressive performance in their previous games in the qualifiers.
With that sports, Kelly is back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The nation's Attorney General and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi today defended the declaration of emergency in Rivers State, saying President Bola Tinubu acted to save a bad situation. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful night rest and stay safe.